We're recording. Hello.
Don't use that voice.
Don't use that voice. My wife doesn't like my voices sometimes. So, I'm Tiger. This is my wife, Felicia, and she is in the retirement phase, unofficially, until later this year. She's on excess leave. She's running up all her leave and whatever until later this year.
I'm on admin leave.
Admin leave. So, which is great, great, great. So she's still getting a paycheck for a couple more months, and then she will go and start collecting her pension, and she'll be able to keep her health care, right?
We'll be paying for it out of pocket,
Right.
but
So
still, yeah.
yeah, so we'll continue our healthcare. So that's covered. So I know a lot of people have questions about healthcare. What do you do for healthcare? So we're gonna have healthcare until whenever. I guess it's forever, right?
So we stop paying.
Until we stop paying, I guess. Yeah.
So stop
So
paying until you die, whichever happens first.
right. So we have that coming in, and then we have investments and stuff like that that come in on my side, and that's how we kind of afford what we're doing. But I figure, we sit down, we're talking, we're just kind of doing like long podcasts and just talking and having a real conversation about different things. And today we're gonna talk about your work.
I don't have any.
You don't. You're right. You don't.
Not true.
How are the naps? They're nice. Ooh, let me tell you.
Oh,
Sometimes I don't know. We've taken a couple of naps that were hours long. Kind of shocked me. That would normally never happen because you're working.
you give your body what it needs at the time.
That's right.
So, retirement, do not feel guilty about napping. If that's what you need to do it because it will give you the energy to get other things done.
Yeah, it's been nice. Okay, so we're gonna get into these questions. Let's talk about the retirement. You're gonna tell everybody that you're retired, and you were just gonna kind of not really tell anybody. And I told you not that you shouldn't do that. You should give everybody, let everybody know you're retiring. And what else did I tell you? And you go ahead, talk about it.
So, so the way I came to retirement was a little different, and it was unexpected.
Yep.
Um, Working for the government for 20 plus years, to include military service and my work with the Department of Defense. Um, Obviously, everybody knows we had a change in presidency and a change in administration that made some changes to federal government, federal workforce.
Yeah.
That offered me an opportunity of sorts to retire early without being penalized. That offered the federal workforce the ability to take what was called a deferred resignation program. And again, an initiative to reduce the federal workforce, but basically allowing you to, almost like a severance package, and allowing you to collect your current salary for a specified amount of time. And then you could either just stop at that point and find other work, or for those who met the time in service, the age, you could retire. Well, when the first opportunity came out, it didn't even cross my mind because I thought, well, that's not me. Like, I know I have a job. What I do is important, and I'm just going to continue doing that job. Um, but then more information started to come out. You started to hear from people that did take that opportunity, and how nice it was to be getting paid and not coming into work every day. Um, so started thinking about some things. Nothing formal because again, I
Well, and you missed the deadline to apply for that the
for the
first
first one,
time,
right? For the first one,
but it got you thinking
right? Like,
nonetheless.
okay, well, if something else happens, then what are my options? Because again, this was unexpected, so didn't really know.
Oh, so you want to tell everybody how old you are?
Not really, but
You're not quite 50, and you would have to typically you would have to wait till you're 57
hmm
before you could collect your pension.
right,
So she's able to collect this early with no penalty because of the offer that was in place in front of her.
right. So when they gave us another opportunity, and I read through it, and just trying to see, okay, what's out there, what is everybody else getting? Still not really thinking about it for myself, but when I read through and it said any age, ears perked up a little bit, any age with a minimum of 25 years of service, I think is what it said. 20, 25, I can't remember exactly now, but either way, I'm like, oh, that could be me. I seriously had that moment of like, this could be me. And I thought, no, you can't do that. What are you thinking? But then I thought this could be me, and came home and had the conversation and panicked you a little bit, I think, because you went easily when you retired, even though you retired early, because I was still working. I had a full income coming in. We were blessed enough that I was able to support us with that income, and we didn't have the fear
Right.
that came along with, oh, now what? If this is really going to happen, what does that really mean? Because there were things that, like when you retired, we didn't know right off the bat, or didn't put as much thought into it as basically we probably should have, because I still had a job. I was still working. You know, but okay, what happens with medical insurance? What happens if it's not enough money to live on? What happens? It's all the unknowns. Um, but the more things came up and the more we started looking into it, the more it just sort of made sense, but still terrifying
Yeah.
because I'm a person that likes to plan. I like to know, what we're doing, where we're going, my calendars, my lists, whatever. And this didn't bother me as much because, just thinking about it, couldn't really work. Tomorrow's never promised. And with my family history and ages that people passed, I thought, okay, well, if I kind of looked at that, am I going to have, how many years am I going to have if I had the same, life expectancy as my mom, as her mom? And I know you're not supposed to think that way because, again, I could die of heat stroke this afternoon. It's, but it was the idea that maybe we really could change things around and not stick to the norm of what you think you have to do compared to what you actually need to do. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it does. I mean,
Um,
we did a lot of talking, and we didn't make a decision right away. We discussed it, and we did the math and trying to figure out could it work, and because typically you wouldn't, or how many bird is back? Uh, we typically try to figure out and plan if it's possible, and when we did the math, it's like it could work because and it'd work even more if we did this, and this,
mhm.
than 100%. I think if we had debt like credit cards, car loans, and a lot of these things that a lot of people rack up and have debt, I don't think neither one of us could retire.
Right, but I guess we'll need to come back to that. Part of what you asked me was why I didn't want to say anything to anybody else.
Oh, you're right. Yeah,
Um,
let's go back to that.
no, no, no. I mean, it's all good conversation. It's just I didn't want to say anything because it wasn't. Well, one, it wasn't anybody else's business. This was a personal decision. I didn't need everybody else's input. I wanted to make sure I was comfortable with it. I wanted to make sure you were okay with it. I wanted to make sure that our family wouldn't suffer because of this decision.
Right.
It wasn't something to take lightly. But I also didn't want the stigma of, okay, if for some reason I say I want to do it and I change my mind and I'm still working, how is that going to affect me throughout the rest of my career?
Yeah.
Is that going to change how, I'm
Good.
perceived? There's so many different things that I thought, it's not official. Until it's official, until I've signed the paperwork, it could go away.
Yeah.
So, and I think it was almost don't get your hopes up kind of feeling, like if you say it, it might not come true.
You're trying to protect yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess because again, it was so unexpected. Didn't think that um, I would ever do something like that. It was never a thought. I wasn't thinking about retirement. I wasn't thinking about any of those things at that point in life. I was just going to work every day, come home, start the second job, do everything that I need to do here, go to bed, wake up, repeat.
Yeah. Yeah, I think like 30 days out, I sent out a mass email to everybody and anybody to let them
Hmm.
know. And I had people like before I could get my finger off the return key, the send button, I
Hmm.
had somebody calling me like that quick, and it was kind of shocking. The I'm surprised the amount of people that they're shocked and they're happy for you. There's all kinds of emotion. There's people that don't want you to go. You got a lot of people that don't want you or wanted to talk you out of it. And luckily they didn't, and I'm glad because I'm happy for this unknown path that we're going down.
Hmm.
It's overdue, and it's kind of nice to be able to enjoy ourselves full time and not have to worry about that. I don't want to have to be 62 or 67 to retire because the social norm thinks that's when it's okay to retire.
Hmm.
I can't tell you how many times I've heard people tell me I'm not 62, so why am I retiring? I'm not old enough to retire. And it's like, wow, didn't know that.
Hmm.
The other thing you didn't want to do was you didn't want to have anybody to have a party or going away dinner or luncheon or something like that. And I was telling you you should do it. It's like closure. Let people have that closure with you, and you might be surprised or shocked if I recall.
So, going back to the not saying anything about it, at some point, once the paperwork came through and I made the decision, I had to push the button. Once I pushed the button, people were going to get notified, and it's going to spread like wildflower.
Right.
No, wildfire, not flower. I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah, it could be whatever.
who knows? Depends on where you live. But the thing that kept coming back to me was, like you said, you want to let people know, you want to give people an opportunity. And I think after working and doing what I had been doing for so many years, I was just not feeling, I didn't feel like I did 25 years ago. I didn't feel like I'd convinced myself that nobody would really care if I left.
Yeah, your self
Um,
worth it doesn't isn't justified, or you.
I just didn't want to be the center of attention. I didn't want all that focus put on me, and um, so that was hard. Now, then you've got really kind people that it makes me emotional to think about. Um, so actually had two going aways, combined one at the facility I was working at, and then one at the primary agency, and I have no filter. So it just it was a blessing. Um, this is a hard one. The kind words, the people that I hadn't seen in years because you moved to a different facility, and my work ethic. I just go go go. Um,
Yeah, but you did a lot of impact, or you did things for people, and that one little impact, one little thing stuck with that many individuals. Even though you only dealt with them one time, they remember that, and you're just doing your job. You're just helping them just to help them. You're not thinking anything of it because that's who you are. But then they come back and they're like, like you would have changed their life because you helped them, you know. And I think when I worked there and I left, I did get a lot of the same type of thing. People, and even today, were people that are associated there when we both worked there,
Hmm.
they will tell me things. I even get it with Microsoft, or used to get it with Microsoft all the time. Like, you helped me one time and it was the best thing ever, you know, yada yada yada.
Hmm.
It feels good,
Hmm.
and you know,
It was so
I miss that.
unexpected,
Yeah,
I guess.
yeah, because
You're not there looking for that, I guess. So for me, just things that I guess I didn't think about, like you said, I wish I could have recorded it, just because my memory is horrible. And one of the gifts that I received was, um, I'm not going to talk about going into all that here, but the speech that this person gave, I was already in tears before she came, and she wrote it down because she had so many things basically that she wanted to say that she wanted to remember. She didn't want to get off track, and she gave me that afterwards.
you want to say your first name or a nickname?
No,
No.
we'll come back to that. We can
Okay.
talk about that more. But
So what about the speech?
I can't.
We can go on. I know when you
Yeah,
came
let's come
back,
back.
you were kind of an emotional wreck and didn't realize. Basically, what you told me is you didn't realize you had that big of an impact on somebody's life, and you worked with that person forever. I'm talking about that same
Hmm.
person. I mean, you worked with them a long time.
A while, but I think it was more of I didn't realize how much of an impact it had on me,
Mm.
and hearing that was much needed, very much appreciated, and just unexpected. Um, thank you.
I'm not trying to make you cry. I'm just
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that another time. Next
okay.
question.
So next question. All right. So let's move on. So what is the one thing, the most thing, or one most or whatever thing that you going or are missing from work now?
The people, the
Yeah.
work, the routine. Um, Getting up with a specific sense of purpose is very different than being woken up at 2 o'clock because somebody needs to go outside, being woken up at 4 o'clock because somebody needs to go outside, being
Puppies.
woken up at 6:30 because somebody says, "Hey, now what?" I don't know. I've been trying to sleep. I don't know. I don't want to sleep my life away, but at the same time, I would like to sleep and not have to, not have to wake up for an alarm or for anything else. Well, that didn't happen.
Yeah, meanwhile, I haven't used
Um,
an alarm since 2017, except for very, very
well,
extreme rare
because you
cases.
asked me if my alarm was set.
Not always, no.
Um,
But I usually wake up at like 3, 4, 5 o'clock.
yeah,
I,
and then who would wake me up like 5 minutes before my alarm was ready to go off and ask me if I was getting up? Yeah,
Agatha.
when the alarm went off, I thought at that time. But yeah, so I think the routine of I don't know. Everybody has different thoughts, different expectations when they're little, and what they think they're gonna do. I remember just like weird things. I never thought I was gonna join the Navy. I didn't think that was in my path. I never expected that I would be working for the Defense Intelligence Agency. That was never something I saw in my path. I remember playing school with my brothers, or trying to.
Yeah.
I remember putting chairs up in the kitchen, and that was the car, and they had to get in the car because we were going to the store, and in the kitchen. But at that point, I remember I had to have a purse. I had to have these shopping bags. I had to be the person that went out, and the woman that ran errands, and she did this and she did that because I don't know how old I was, but I was still little, and still I didn't have this one thing that I thought I would do for the rest of my life. Um, I kind of just went along with where I was being pulled, um, the path that God had for me, I guess, at that point in time,
Yeah.
and just kind of going with the flow of things, not really knowing where I would end up. So you get to the point where okay, you have a job, you have a career, you get up every day because you are anything that you do or anything that I did was to support family. It's family here, family back home, um, helping at the shelter, just different things. If I didn't do or try to do my best, then there was no reward at the end of that to be able to help somebody else, which was the ultimate goal. It didn't matter what I was doing. It didn't matter if I was stressing myself out, if whatever, because there was always there was another end goal. But when you don't have that same sense of here's what I'm doing this every day, I have to do this every day, and you realize that you have to just stop and figure out what you need because I put my needs aside
Yeah. I think we all
and
do. Yeah.
and then started thinking, okay, well, what do I really need? And I can go back through different classes I've been in, different things that I've been in. It's the same thing now. What do I need? I need family. I need that support. I need the closeness. I need the energy that comes with that.
Like community and
Yeah,
yeah.
I don't, I don't like big parties. I don't like that. Doesn't give me energy. That doesn't fill my tank with anything. But um, spending the day with somebody, or even just having a meal with somebody one on one, and focusing on making sure that it's something that that person enjoys, or remembering something that that person asked for, and kind of seeing the happiness there. That does it for me. So when I say I miss the people, not everybody. And I'm sure not everybody misses me, and they're happily going along their business. I left
Yeah.
enough things in place, but there are certain people that I miss having daily conversations with. Um, Even if it's just to check in, like, hey, are you still, are you still sane? Have you, whatever. And having, like you said, just the structure of it, knowing that, okay, I'm gonna get up and I only have to do this between now and now, between here and then, okay, I'm done with that and I can move on to something else, because I'm very task oriented. I like to get things done. Um, so not having a plan, okay, kind of like maybe on the weekend, you
Just
don't always have a
yeah.
plan. You have some high level things that you think you want to get done, but if you don't, it's not that big of a deal. Well, here it was kind of like, okay, but there's got to be something. There's, something has to be done. You have to put your shoes on. You have to put, pants on. You have to get up. You have to do something. You can't just blend into the couch and, become one with.
Ooh, sometimes it's okay. Sometimes if it takes you 2 3 days to do something, it's okay. You're not on a timeline. You're not rushed to get something done so you can get on to the next task. You can relax and take your time. I kind of learned that my first year, and I think the biggest thing I enjoyed was like the community and helping people. I love helping people. I love solving
Mhm.
problems. I love the challenging my thought, my mind to different things, and it was very rewarding.
Mhm.
And, and but it got me where I'm at, and it helped me grow, and I'm always grow, always learn. I enjoy learning. Um, it's just, now it's more I just want to learn what I want to learn, not what you're forcing me to learn. And I
Not
think
me
that
forcing.
no work. Oh, you need to learn this. I have no desire
You
in
need this
this.
certification. You need this.
Why? It doesn't. Well, it makes the company look good. Well, don't. Okay, it don't make me look good. It's not, I'm not gonna ever touch it, so it's gonna be difficult for me to renew the cert every year when I have nothing to do with this.
Mhm.
But yeah. But anyways, okay. So I digress. So we both love the community, the sense of purpose, helping people, and structured.
Well,
What is the least thing you miss? Um,
driving through DC, driving even to the shorter location when I was able to sit at an alternate location,
yeah.
which was very helpful. I don't miss the driving. If I'm driving for a trip, if I'm driving because I know I'm getting somewhere exciting on the other end of it, but just the monotony of, oh, got to go in again, time to go in again, time to go in
Yeah.
again, and
Very little time for yourself, and I think, well, and seeing you come home and just stressed about certain things, or you're stressed when you come home because of BS, and then in the morning before your alarm goes off, sometimes, well, a lot of times you're dealing with BS, and it's just like, really, come on, people. You dealt with a lot more BS than I deal with. I just dealt with a lot of stupidity, and I just, you just go with it, and like, okay, you might be a little slow, but I'm gonna help you out anyways because that's my job, and I want you to be successful, so I'll approach it a different way. But yeah, because you're a manager, and I once I was a manager, supervisor, whatever,
but I think
I'll never do it again.
right, but I think I was also at that point. I wasn't I didn't feel like I was adding value anymore. I didn't feel like I was thinking necessarily about the success of that person. I was taking it more, I'm not going to say taking it more personally, but I was letting it affect me more than it should have. I should have been able to say, okay, you're a bonehead, it is what it is, and move on. But it just stuck with me because I couldn't understand why certain, like simple tasks were so hard
Yeah,
for certain people. And I get it, everybody's different, everybody, does things differently, but it was those types of things that were just starting to really ramp up my stress levels, because to me it felt like it was either
you felt
not
like it
even
was an attack on
yeah,
you.
not I don't know so much as an attack against me, but hey, I'm not a good leader if I can't get these things done, because these are easy things. And then you find out later that that issue was with the person, because they had the same issue from job to job, but it makes your day harder, and you don't get extra appreciation for dealing with that. You don't necessarily get extra money for dealing with any of that. You don't get any rewards. It's just, this is what you have to
No,
do now. You've moved up into that position, yay, verily, but figure it out. And I wasn't happy, and I didn't realize it in that way. It was more of, what am I doing wrong? Why is this not going the way it should be? Why is this something that is so simple? Why is it so hard? And I couldn't think outside of it. I couldn't think beyond to try to figure out how to do new things. And certain things changed. Different people came into the equation, and I could finally breathe again. I could finally see things differently. And when this opportunity came up to tie it back to, it made sense, because if I didn't see myself growing where I was at, what was the point of staying? And yeah, the money's nice, but I'm not enjoying it. I, I'm I mean, what's the value added for me, for us at that point in time, to keep us in the same situation, in the same doing the same things over and over again, and just still not being happy with it?
well, I kind of noticed I think you were kind of in beginning stages of burnout, where I knew, well, I knew I can pick a date, January 8th, 2023, and if you know, you know.